Hey everyone, welcome back to Spicy Astrobites. I'm Brian. Today I've got some exciting news, or I've got something exciting to show you. I've been waiting a long time to step up to a telescope of this caliber, but my SVX152T from Stellarvue just came in a couple days ago. I haven't had a chance to open everything up. I've been very anxious, as you might imagine. So I wanted to make sure that I set up a space to unbox this giant behemoth of a telescope and share it with the channel. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and it came with two boxes. There's some accessories that it came with, so I'd imagine that that's what's in this box. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dig in. Try not to hurt myself in the process. Packing slip. Lots of nice padding. Ooh, got a little Batonov mask. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. Probably not even saying it properly, but it just helps you dial in your focusing. Creates a pattern in the light of the brighter stars so that you can make sure that everything's in focus. It's a lot easier to use something like that than to just do it visually. But I'm gonna be automating it with motorized focuser and everything. So hopefully Nina, the capturing app itself, will handle that. It usually handles it pretty well. So, but it is good to dial it in as close as you can before you hand it off to the software to make those decisions for you, because sometimes it's just out of threshold and you end up with some issues with getting the it basically will go through too many steps and trying to focus, and it takes forever. So anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So this is the field flattener, the SVX2 for the 152T. I'm like nervous to touch any of this. It's so I've been waiting so long for it, right? So nicely packaged, very, double padded, bubble wrapped, nice thick cardboard box. I mean, the box itself is nicely done. So that's, I don't know if it's focusing right, but this is the field flattener. I mean, it's massive, right? It's got quite a bit of heft to it, nice and heavy. You know it's made right, so that's cool. And that's one of the reasons why my first telescope, well, my very first telescope that I ever got was a Meade LX200 12-inch that I got from an auction, and that's sort of how I ended up getting into this hobby, and it's just kind of been a domino effect from there. But I quickly found out that a telescope like that is not made really well for like doing astrophotography. I mean, you can do it, but it's not forgiving at all because it's got such a long focal length. So any kind of movement, any issues with the tracking, it's going to be more pronounced because it's much more magnified. So it's kind of like taking, if you've done any like photography, nightscape photography with like a wide field lens, you know that you can do a longer exposure without tracking. And then if you use like a longer focal length lens, say like a 300 millimeter or something like that, it's much less exposure that you can do before you start to see issues with field with the stars rotating, right? Star trails. Anyway, this is the reducer flattener, the SFFR 0.72. Similar sort of box going on here. Nice and thick cardboard. Double padded. Should probably keep that bubble wrap. Similar situation. Nice and heavy, so it's really well made. They don't cheap out at Stellarvue. That's one of the reasons I went with Stellarvue. So that's what I was trying to get at before, was basically my first telescope was that 12-inch Meade. It made me fall in love with objects that you could see. So the first thing I wanted to do is, coming from like more of a photography background as a hobby, I wanted to figure out how to take pictures of the objects that I saw and share it with people. And as I spoke with people who have been doing this for a long time, one of the recommendations that stuck with me was to go with a small refractor, but a quality small refractor. So that's what led me to Stellarvue with the 80 millimeter. And it's been, I've owned probably like, I want to say 5 or 6 different telescopes now. I still own a handful, and I always go back for astrophotography. I always go back to the 80 millimeter, and I always recommend it to people because I just love. It's like a nice sweet spot, nice wide field, very forgiving. If you're on like a less expensive, less premium mount, you can definitely get away with a lot, but it provides a really nice, clean image. So definitely recommend that. I'm, in the channel, I'll definitely introduce you to the 80 millimeter. And so that's the first part of it, right? Probably the less exciting part, but these are integral components for astrophotography. So the field flattener obviously is going to make sure that everything in the field is flat, right? So you're not going to have like any kind of rounded stars out towards the corners. So the 0.72 reducer is going to take it from approximately an f8 down to an f6. So it makes it a little bit faster, easier to gather more data more quickly, but you lose a little bit of the focal length, which is okay because it's already a pretty far-reaching telescope for a triplet, right? I think my notes here say that as it is without the reducer, it's approximately 1200 millimeter focal length. So quite a step up from my 80 millimeter that I have right now. It doesn't reach as far as like my Meade did, but my Meade was slow. And again, it was like, there were issues with mirror flop, and you couldn't, it weighed like 50 pounds. It was crazy. You couldn't really mount it on a German equatorial mount without deforking it and doing all kinds of different things to it. But it was a nice visual telescope. So, but I sold that off, and moving on to what I prefer to image with and use, which is refractors. So without further ado, let's dig into this box. So one of the jokes, or I don't know if it's really a joke, but something that the Stellarvue team says is, when you order a telescope like this, just be expected to see a refrigerator-sized box show up at your doorstep, right? So this is I mean, it's pretty close to it. I'm sure the UPS guy was wondering what was in here. And I'm wondering what's in here. I mean, I know, but I want to see. So it looks, it's double, at least double boxed. Let's take the hat off of this thing, huh? My goodness. I hope this is the recommended way of opening it. All right. Lots of nice foam. It's stuck in there pretty good. That's the idea. We have to speed this part up and put some Benny Hill music on it or something. You have to be smarter than the box. Whew. Starting to see something. That is a nice case. Wow. I'm just gonna keep. Woo. This method seems to be working out. Oh man. Guys, I am sweating. I think it's because I'm anxious, excited, and also flipping around a 80-pound box. Ooh, wheels. How about that? Oh man, this is ridiculously nice. Oh, that was loud. Okay. Guys, I think we're almost there. Don't know if I'm gonna put this on the table or if I can. No. All right. Hang in there. I am just going to, I'm sure it just looks like a case inside, but the real treasure is what's inside the case itself. Yes, indeed. Look at this. Vic knows. I've been asking for a hat for a long time. I know you can order them on the site now, I think. But he said you got to order another telescope to get a hat, so that's why I ordered it. I just wanted the hat. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, definitely. It's heavy, but it's a lot of that weight I feel like was the case, which is good. So here we are, the SVX152T in all its glory. Look at this. It's just beautiful. I don't even want to mess with this tape. Carefully cut away from what's important. Which at this time is the telescope. Look at that. This is the I believe 3.5 inch feather touch focuser from Starlight Instruments. So this is kind of like the upgraded larger size focuser option that you can get the telescope with, which is good because you know, I'm trying to be as trying to think about the future as much as possible. Right now I have just the ZWO ASI 1600 mm cooled. So I don't probably need 3.5 inch focuser, but you know, why not? Okay. Here we go. The objective is definitely got some weight to it, you know. When you lift it up, you can see if I start lifting it here, it's just the objective, so you kind of have to support it more closer to the objective. So I'm not quite sure if this is the final like spacing. I'll have to get it on the mount and play around with spacing and see how everything does in terms of like positioning with the camera, the filter wheel, motorized focuser. But I don't think it'll be a problem at all. It's a lot longer, obviously, than my 80 millimeter. So My 80mm has some spacer blocks on the bottom because it needed it in order to balance things out with it, and then the spacing that was required for like the focuser and the filter wheel especially. So anyway, so this is yeah, there's Stellarvue right there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but very nice. Everything is just looks great. You know, it's a great white finish. We've got a little plate up here that I can use to mount my Pegasus Ultimate Power Box. I have like the original one, which works just great. You know, there's no reason to really upgrade it. But I'll go over the other equipment I have later. Right now, this is the star of the show, right? And it will be the star of the show for a long time. Right now, the dew shield is, I believe, is retracted all the way. It's got a nice tight fit on there. So it actually takes a little effort to extend it out. But we don't really have too much dew where we're at, you know, in the desert. Except right now, I feel a little dewy. There we go. Fully extended. Look at that beast. The focuser is just substantial. It just feels really solid, nice movement. I've not owned a Feather Touch for a refractor. I had the Feather Touch on my Mead that it came with, which felt really nice and everything. But this is like, you know, that was a tiny little focuser for a Schmidt Cassegrain, but this is, you know, wow, substantial. And just have a slide-on cap here. It's got some inside felt there to make it nice and solid grip. Try not to destroy anything on day one. Wow. That is just beautiful. So I'm not sure if you can really see that, but you know, I'll get some other shots so you can see it. The rings are really nice, very big, solid. These knurled knobs make it easy to grip. Got this for like a finer scope or reticle. Not really something I use, so I might take it off. I gotta remember, my 80mm I can just pick up from the top plate or anywhere really, and it's very balanced because of the small form factor. This just has a massive objective, and so there's a lot of weight right there, and I have to remember when I pick it up to support it there as well. Here's a nice gold plate on the bottom. 134, I think it says. So it must be the 134th run, or 134th 152 in this run of 152s. I'm not sure how many they've made or how many runs they do, but that's cool to have a nice personalized plate on there. And it's just a beautiful telescope, and you can already tell just visually on the lens that it's just going to perform great. So I can't wait to get this out there. So yeah, It also comes with a report showing just how dead on accurate. Yeah, so there's the serial number that corresponds with it. The lens number 148, that's cool. This is just kind of like their quality control, who inspected what, who did what. Nice little note from them, and a look at what eyepieces they have, which I do have. I do own some Stellarvue eyepieces, and I'm not a visual guy, but they look good. They look really good. So never had any issues with them when I have used them. And this is the report. The Strel value is, an important number to help describe the accuracy of the lens in terms of like no issues with its how it's been machined down or hand polished down, and all the different steps that they go through. I mean, they have a video which I recommend if you're interested in a Stellarvue telescope and you kind of want to see their process. There's a video on their website that you should check out where they tour it and they describe the process. And it's it's not like the telescope. It's not like those cheap telescopes you can buy where it's just a mass production unit and they just throw in a lens, they don't test it, and you end up with some issues with coloring and contrast. And so anyway, 0.988 out of 1. So very, very accurate. And like I said, I'm just over the moon excited about testing everything out with this telescope. And I'm not really sure what object I'm not sure when we'll have first light because we have wildfires in the area and monsoon weather. In fact, when this landed at the doorstep, 2 minutes later, we had a monsoon storm. So yeah, I'm excited to test it out. My plan with this telescope is to try to shoot more obscure objects, not things that everyone shoots. That area is covered. You have so many different nebula and galaxies that everyone shoots, and they do a really good job. And it's just, I just like to do a little bit more obscure things and things that are, since I have a permanent place for the telescope, my backyard observatory, it makes sense to try to target things that require more data to get any kind of detail, at least to me. So I don't mind setting it up and just having it automatically shoot basically, 2 weeks in a row or as many days and nights in a row that I can shoot an object until I've acquired enough data where it makes sense to just say, okay, that's enough. Let's get the calibration frames, make sure everything's good, take it into the house here, and start to play with the data, process it, and see what we can do with it. And it also makes sense to me because I don't have processing an image takes a long time, if you're doing it correctly, and it takes a lot of finesse. So me personally, in my life right now, I don't have a ton of time to do processing. So if I can gather data while I don't have the time to process, and I can gather the data without much intervention from myself, then that makes the most sense. So that's what I want to do. And since I have that opportunity to gather as much data as I can, faint objects, obscure objects, those are what interest me. And it kind of gives, a better, like a wider range of objects for people who can't image or don't, they're just kind of the spectators in all of this. It gives them more things to take a look at and more cool things to see. And there's people within, the amateur astronomy community who have discovered objects. I mean, they're still discovering objects. And, you know, that's something that maybe one day, once I, you know, start to figure out how to make that transition from, you know, the artistic aspect of things to more of like a scientific aspect of, you know, astronomy, then, you know, maybe I'll start to contribute there. So those are my long-term goals. And I know that the 152 is going to be the tool that's going to allow me to make that step in that direction. So I'm really happy with it. Shout out to the Stellarvue crew, Vic, Alex, everyone over there, John. They're an amazing team. They really care about their product. That's another reason why I love Stellarvue, is just, you know, they stand behind their product and they do it because they love what they make. And that's kind of like, you know, the position I take in my career. You know, when I create something, I'm passionate about it because you have to be in order to create a good product. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this little adventure of unboxing this giant box, and hopefully I can make it a little entertaining for you, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll just throw it up as is. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I hope that you come back to see what I end up doing with this massive, beautiful refractor. Again, thank you for joining me, and if you liked what you saw and you want to see more of this content and you want to see what I end up doing with this, be sure to subscribe. Like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, well, sorry. I'm new to this, so, you know, cut me some slack. Anyway, have a nice day out there.